Something that I've learned about myself in the last few years is that I try to always take the more efficient route, but I don't always set myself up to be efficient. And today's guest is somebody that I admire so much because she always puts in the extra effort where it matters to optimize her life, her business life, and she makes it look so easy, which I am so impressed by. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. Heidi DeCoux is a consultant, investor, advisor, and financial literacy advocate. She is a serial entrepreneur who's built four businesses with 50% plus profit margins and has sold three of them, with one of them being a seven-figure exit. So that alone is such an impressive resume. Her latest adventure is launching the tech startup Cashflowy.ai, an elegant AI bookkeeping, client invoicing, and cash flow management software for small businesses that eliminates the need for a bookkeeper. She's also founded and volunteers her time to her nonprofit, Financial Titans, which provides deep financial literacy and mental health to young people aged 15 to 26. She's appeared in Forbes and other publications and has become known as the Optimizer because she's so passionate about helping entrepreneurs optimize their businesses and lives. Heidi, welcome to the Becoming Obsessed podcast.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things I remember the most, and it's such a silly thing, but I remember being in your place in Puerto Rico and you got a new set of AirTags and you, without even thinking about it, like took out your label maker and labeled them. And it was like you knew exactly where they were going to go. And it is such a like simple, almost silly thing for me to mention, except it made me realize how like the small things will save you so much time down the line. And it's just this one example that stuck with me of how much you really do optimize your life and help entrepreneurs do that as well. And I'm curious where that started. Have you kind of always been that way, or did it slowly grow?
It slowly grew. As a kid, I started, I think, out of just like a coping mechanism. Like, how do I get through my day? How do I get through my week? I was a child that got parentified very early on. So I had a lot of responsibility at a very young age. And so, in order to just fulfill on those responsibilities, plus, all the regular kid stuff, I just had to create systems out of necessity. And so I started just kind of getting obsessed with just being organized and creating systems. And I was always thinking ahead, like what could go wrong or what can I do now to prevent a bigger problem later? Because often the bigger problem later, especially at that age, and the fact that I had very little control over anything in my life, would be very difficult and sometimes impossible to solve because I didn't have the resources, I didn't have any power or control. And so it kind of became a controlling thing where it's like, all right, if I can just organize everything and systematize and think ahead, I can get my needs met later or prevent some big problem later or be able to like handle all of these responsibilities that were given to me later.
When did that switch kind of flip for you, or when did you start to realize how maybe this thing that came out of necessity and a need to kind of control and organize what you could actually became your superpower and became something you could help other people and entrepreneurs do?
Yeah, in my early 20s, I had a really good day job. I was managing a athletic club and day spa, large athletic club and day spa in a Hyatt Regency hotel. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I'd like dabbled, here and there, but not any like real businesses. And I remembered in high school, my high school friends' moms would always hire me for what I later learned was to be an organizer, organizing services. I mean, I would just call myself a helper. And they would hire me like, I need Heidi the helper to come. Like, I'm going to pay you on Saturday to help me organize the garage or, organize I would go to, a few of them worked in, like one was a real estate agent and her files and paperwork was a mess. I would go in her office on the weekends and like help her get all of her files organized. And so I just became like the helper Heidi. And I just kind of branded myself as helper Heidi, and I would help all my, friends' parents. And then in my early 20s, working, I was thinking about that, and organizing, like professional organizing, kind of came on the scene as a thing. And there was like a national organization of professional organizers. And I was like, really? This is like, I thought it was just like a helper. And so then I ended up starting a business doing that. So that was my side hustle business that I grew big enough to eventually quit my day job. And that business was focused on people that had, so I'm going to age myself right now, way back in the day, we didn't have the cloud, right? Google was still like non-existent, or barely, barely around. It was kind of web 1.0 essentially. And so we were all buried in paper. So if you had a business, you were super buried in paper. But even if you just had a household, you were buried in paper. We just had paper everywhere, and we had to deal with paper, and we had to keep paper. And it was just a thing. Everybody had a big file cabinet in their house. And your younger listeners maybe remember growing up having like the big file cabinet.
Oh,
And
I still, like, my parents still have it in their basement, and I have zero idea what's in there.
they don't either anymore. It's all so old now. But so I created a filing system called the fast filing method. I think it was find and file any piece of paper in 30 seconds or less was my tagline. So anyway, I started a business around that.
That makes so much sense, because one of the other things that really opened my eyes when I got to hang out with you was not just outsourcing in business. To me, like, I'm in business, I'm like, yeah, you can't do it all. You've got to bring people on, whether it's your team or outsourcing. But what really opened my eyes is outsourcing in your personal life. And so it makes sense that as a teenager and then into your 20s, people were hiring you in their personal life to help them organize. And so did it kind of feel like a natural transition when you started to hire people to do like housekeeping and kind of house management? Or when
Yeah,
was that first
definitely.
hire?
I had a housekeeper very early on. In fact, in my early 20s, I had a housekeeper because I had this, big day job, right? I was managing a big facility. And then I had my side hustle that I was doing nights and weekends. And I was like, I can make twice or three times as much money as it would cost me to pay a housekeeper. Like, why am I cleaning my house and doing my laundry when I could have somebody? So that was a hire that I made very early on. Like, I think I was maybe 25. I'd bought my first house really young. I had a big house. It was actually a duplex, and I had a rented half of it and lived in half of it. And it was like game changing. I was like, wow, this person comes and does all this stuff in a few hours and then leaves, and all the laundry's done and the house is clean. And it just woke me up to, I can actually save my energy and bandwidth and then do more work that is more life-giving to me and more lucrative if I outsource this. Now, I do think some people find a lot of stress relief in cleaning or doing laundry or cooking or something like that, and that's different. I didn't. For me, it was just like something on my to-do list that I had to do after a long day's worth of work that I wasn't interested in doing. So I say outsource the things that drain you first.
I love that advice. It's something that really opened my eyes, because growing up, that was not something I really saw people do. And it's very much now I'm like, yeah, I'm not the best at keeping up with the laundry or keeping up with certain things. And it does free your energy up, right? More than your time, even just your energy, like you said, it's so draining to do certain things. But to really feel confident to be able to kind of make that transaction of, you get more energy and more time, but it's going to take some money. That's a hard switch for people to flip. And I'm really curious if that was ever the case for you, or what kind of advice you have when it is like people don't have that relationship with money and time to really feel comfortable
No,
doing
it was
that.
an easy switch for me. Even when I quit my day job and had the business, and the business was, I didn't quit the day job until the business was good and stable and could pay my bills, but it was like barely paying my bills. It was still a pay cut at the time that I took it. And then, as you know, with the business, it's up and down, right? You have a good week and a bad week and a good month and a bad month. And so there were times where I was like, and I was, you're working a lot of hours in a new business because you're learning how to do everything, right? Like I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to invoice clients properly. I didn't know how, you're just like bookkeeping, like all of the things.
Yeah.
You are wearing all the hats, just learning everything and going to every conference and taking every course. And so if you took my hours and divided it into how much I was making, the housekeeper made more per hour than me. But I just made the conscious decision to keep her because it freed up my bandwidth to focus on the business because I believed in myself. And I knew that if I invested in myself, that was a good investment and that it would pay off long term. Even though in the short term, if like my very financially conservative union worker parents were to look at that, they would be like, why are you doing this when your housekeeper technically is making, $3 an hour more than you when you take your million hours that you're working by the amount of money that your business is bringing in, right? And so, but you can't live in the spreadsheets. You need to make decisions that are propelling you forward.
That's so important for people, aka me, to hear as well, because sometimes it is you see everyone talk about how you need to, run business super lean and it kind of feels like your life needs to be in this certain type of balance. But yeah, don't live in the spreadsheets and trust. I always say, trust your intuition. And if something feels like it's right for you, go find out if it is. And I love that that's what you were able to do is trust. You were like, no, this is going to be investing my time and myself instead of worrying about, oh, there's this $3 difference right here.
Exactly.
How did that business then lead you to, I know you've had 3 large exits. You're now working on another, as you said, adventure, which I love. But what has been kind of the journey from there to where you are now?
My first couple exits were very small. I want to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually ended up selling that business. It was a very, very small exit, but it was just a long journey. I guess if I was going to sum it up quickly, in that business, online marketing was just starting to become a thing when I was becoming a successful professional organizer. Loved it. I just like soaked it up and was learning it. And so I was very early on building an email list. Like we had just, email service providers were brand new on the, thing. Not even everybody even had email at the time. So I was growing an email list. I had a website. I ended up doing a little online store with some drop ship or, home and office organization products and whatnot. And a lot of the clients that I worked with were business owners because I would do paperwork was my specialty. So a lot of them were business owners and they started asking me, how are you doing this online marketing? Like, how did you get your website done? How are you building an email list? Like, teach us this. So I started then side hustling doing marketing consulting. So now it's professional organizing full-time and then side hustling as a marketing consultant. And it was super fun. I loved it. The challenge that I ran into is I would give people a marketing plan and they'd say, great, how do I execute? We didn't have, Wix and Squarespace and all this. Like you had to build a WordPress site and it was actually very hard to do back then. So you had to hire a programmer and whatnot. And they're like, who do I get to help, hire? And I was referring out different people I knew and some of it went badly. And then that reflected badly on me. So I got really frustrated because I feel like I was kind of doing people a disservice. And then I give them a marketing plan that I knew would work for them, but they really had no way of executing it. And so then I ended up starting a marketing agency. And so I sold the business that I had, which I didn't even understand that I could sell a business. I wasn't planning it. I got lucky. So what happened was this woman contacted me and was working on becoming a professional organizer. And she wanted an intern for me. And she was going to do it, as her side hustle with her day job and that whole thing. And I was like, I'm actually like leaving this business. I'm starting this agency. Back then, banks actually gave you loans to start businesses. So you could, if you had good credit, you could actually easily get a business loan. So I ended up getting a $30,000 business loan to start an agency, which is quite a bit of money. Back then, this is maybe, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 in today's terms. And so I was going to just close it. And we got to talking and she's like, can I take it over? Like you have all of these clients, you have all these systems, you have all this marketing. And so I ended up just working on a deal and selling her the whole business. And that was my first exit. And I was like, you can sell businesses. I thought you had to like work on Wall Street or something to sell a company. Like that wasn't something I thought like normal people could do. Yeah, and she still owns the business today. She rebranded Clear Simple Business. She launched a really successful podcast, and yeah, so years and years later, it's still around, but
That's
it looks
awesome.
very different, but it's still around. But yeah, so then that was the next business, and then yeah, it kind of snowballed from there.
Which brings us to your adventure now, Cashflowy, which I did a little bit, I told people in the intro about it, but I would love to hear from you the kind of mission and how it came to be.
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to launch a software company. I wanted to get into tech. My last business was in online marketing space in the travel industry, and it was a great little business. And I just was ready for a change. I'm really obsessed with AI right now. I'm obsessed with tech. I'm obsessed with software because software automates. It is like the great systematizer automator. I mean, it's just very much like part of my like core being. So I've been wanting to do this for a while. So I was looking at different software that I could build. And what I knew to be true was I believe in small business. They are the backbone of our society. And they have the least amount of resources available to them, their least amount of money to solve problems. And so I wanted to build a software that helps small business. So I thought through my different small businesses. And in the last two businesses that I had, I worked with solopreneurs were the clients of that business. So I had a company for practitioners, wellness practitioners, and that I sold, and then I started the company for travel agents, right? So both a solopreneur. And so I knew those markets extremely well and the different issues that they had. And I knew that one issue they all struggle with is bookkeeping, because
Hmm.
they, are using a solution like say a QuickBooks Online or FreshBooks or Xero, which is not made for a solopreneur. It's made for a bigger business. So it has 1,000 features that they will never use. So it feels clunky. It feels overwhelming. It's expensive. Often they can't do it themselves because it's overwhelming and clunky. So then they have to actually hire a bookkeeper, which is very cumbersome and unaffordable for a living wage solopreneur to go find, vet, hire, onboard, train a bookkeeper, pray they actually do their job right, pray they don't ghost you, like all the things, right? And then that costs $200 to $500 a month for a solopreneur, which is a huge expense for that size of a business. And AI is gotten to the point where we can actually solve this. Now, companies like QuickBooks and Xero and stuff have AI built in. The thing is, their AI is really stupid, which isn't their
Yeah.
fault. It's because it's hard to make AI smart when you have 1,000 variables and each variable has like 100 subsets of variables. And so they
Hmm.
serve bigger businesses. And so they have all these variables. We serve one clientele, a solopreneur. And so our AI, really freaking smart because it only needs to do one thing for one clientele with one set of facts, right? Like you are a solopreneur, you're an influencer, a freelancer, a coach, a consultant, a therapist, a practitioner, some type of service-based solopreneur. You probably send invoices to a client or they pay you online. Maybe you've got an online program or something like that. And so we can take care of your books elegantly in a beautiful Apple-esque dashboard with a super smart AI bookkeeper where you can manage all of it in under an hour a month. You can always know your numbers and just be completely on top of your financials with like zero stress. And that's just a very underserved market. And when I realized how big that market is, and it's the fastest growing right now, they're growing over 10% year over year. And even just think about all the side hustles that are happening. Like the Gen Zers are all about the side hustle, right? And the nomadic life. And I mean, it's that population is growing incredibly fast. And no one was really serving it or not well. There's some people dabbling in it, but they're not doing it well. My CTO he speaks at Harvard and MIT on AI. Like he teaches their department heads about AI. And so we're building like the smartest AI to make this experience seamless for our users.
That is such an important need because as you're talking, I'm even thinking about I this year I've had a bookkeeper the whole year and I'm very proud of myself because before that my books I never it's one of those things where I'm kind of the opposite of you, Heidi. For as much as you love systems and have been working with them and making your life more efficient with them, I lack the ability to stick to a system and I try really hard, but then I've in the last few years tried to not force myself to be something I'm not, right? Like you said, you didn't really love the cleaning side. It didn't give you that stress relief. That's me with systems. So I'm now like,
Mm.
okay, I need to just hire the people to like build it for me and keep me in it instead of feeling like a failure at it. And bookkeeping is one of those. And before I worked with these bookkeepers, which again, I feel like I'm paying way too much for, but it's like I don't have to think about it, so it's money well spent. But I was using QuickBooks myself, and I, for longer than I'm willing to admit, probably 2 years, didn't even know how to get in to look at my books because I was on QuickBooks self-employed. But
Mm.
whenever I like went to log in, I would log into QuickBooks Online. So these are two separate things. I know you
Mhm.
know this, but some people might not. Two separate things. And so while I didn't actually have a QuickBooks Online account, it allowed me to log in. It showed me some numbers and then it just said the dashboard was like down or there was an error. It didn't tell me I was logged into the wrong place. And so for like 2 years, I would log in like maybe twice a year and be like, oh, it's not working. It must be tax season. It must be too busy. And it wasn't until I hired bookkeepers that I realized I had just been paying like, 25 bucks a month to be logging into the wrong place and failing
Mhm.
at my books. And
Yeah.
it's so infuriating. So I'm very thankful that you've made an alternative, especially for those solo entrepreneurs who might experience that same issue that I had.
Come on over to Cashflowy. We've got open arms.
So you actually talked about it being for solo entrepreneurs. My situation, I have an agency, I have a team, a small team of contractors. Would that work on Cashflowy as well?
It depends. So that's not who we're specifically designed for.
Right.
We do have, so, and we're still in beta right now. I'm not sure when this episode releases, but we're in beta. So we are only taking a small amount of beta founding members at a time. We will officially be going to market in late January. So mid to late January is when we officially hit the market.
Beep, beep. Hi, it's me, Teresa, pausing and popping in here to let you know that Cashflowy did open. They opened 200 spots and they filled up in just a few days. So if you're listening right now and thinking, I need this, you're not the only one. And your best bet is to go to cashflowy.ai, get the link in the show notes to join the waitlist so that you know the next time Heidi and Cashflowy open up to the next set of users. Okay, back to the episode.
Out of our beta group, we do have a couple of beta founding members that fit that criteria that are using it successfully, but they have a pretty simple set of facts. So the big difference is we don't have all of the things that like a QuickBooks Online has by like that's the whole thing. Like we don't have
Yeah.
those things on purpose so that it can be this Apple-esque dashboard and really easy to manage things. It's not going to run your payroll for you. So you are going to have to run your payroll separately.
Which I
Depending
do
upon
now anyway.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's the clients that are using it. As long as you're running your payroll separately, you're gonna have to manually make like your if you have affiliates, you'll have to manually make those affiliate payments, but you can tag them in there. You may have to tag them manually, although we're doing a huge update on the AI bookkeeper right now. It's getting smart and sassy. So we're actually after we go to market in January, we're gonna run a whole like online contest to have people submit what they want the name and personality of the AI bookkeeper to be. So we're gonna have some fun with that after the new
I
year.
love that idea.
So yeah. So for your business, it is possible. So you could come, give it a try. We do have a money back guarantee on all of our beta founding members.
Awesome.
Because we know you're testing us out when it's like early on and we want feedback and everything. So we do make it risk free. So for anybody listening, if you're not sure, if you're kind of on the verge of solopreneur, but a little bigger than that, but you have a relatively simple set of financials, you don't have a lot of big complications. So it's kind of run like a solopreneur. You just happen to have some contractors working for you. It'll probably work and you can try it, risk free.
And especially if it sounds like if I was still doing my own books, it would still take like 90% of that
Mm-hmm.
away
Oh,
from what I
yeah,
would
for
need to
sure.
manage every month.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if people have been listening to the last few episodes of Becoming Obsessed, we had another fintech founder on a few weeks ago, Megan Hale, and her and I talked a lot about the experience of going from a bootstrap business owner to a tech founder. She has worked with especially women entrepreneurs, helping them with their money and their cash flow. And going from that, where you're working with these entrepreneurs, and I know you kind of have a similar experience in that, working with entrepreneurs and the solopreneurs who it's so bootstrapped. You're not getting VC capital, you're not talking to angels. I also have been working on this app, as you know, this year, and it's such a different mentality where I've had to switch from being like, I feel like I'm playing so big for the small business world. And then you step into the tech world and you're like, oh, I'm playing so small. I need to like step it up and play big in the tech world. How has that transition or experience getting into tech been for you? I would love to hear your perspective and your journey there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. So, like your last guest, I bootstrapped all of my businesses before this one. And so, going out and with, when you're building tech, it's tough to do without investor funds because it just costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. And it's not something that you can pre-sell. All my other businesses, I just pre-sold a program before I built it, test the market, maybe tweak it, da da da. So you're just like my last company, I launched for 12K, which a lot of that was quite frankly on like Facebook ads, like driving traffic to funnel and testing it, and then building out the program, delivering it live, and working on all the kinks. And that business netted 6 figures its first year. I sold it for 7 figures 5 years later. So it's a great little business. But tech is very, very different. Like we have to do deep market research and just trust that it's going to work and convince investors that it's going to work. And then you're going to spend like a year building it, in our case, a little less, but basically a year. And then you're going to go to market with your first version of it. Right. And then you have to pay to go to market and, all of that. And so, yeah, it was really outside my comfort zone, but I was excited. I'd been thinking about this for a few years. So it's something that I was really ready to jump into and like roll up my sleeves and just knew. One thing that all of my previous businesses and experience has taught me is everything is figure outable. Everything that I've ever went into, I didn't know what it was going to take to do it. And that's really the difference between someone my age and someone just getting started, 25 years ago, is if you're younger, the thing that you don't know is that you will figure it out. If you just continue to course correct and you like stay on it, right? And now when I say figure it out, your goals might change, your outcomes might change, your business might change. I'm not saying like set this one thing and then do, anything to get it, because maybe you need to change it a little bit. But what I will say is what I now know, having all of the experiences, is that like I'll figure it out. Like there is ChatGPT, there is mentors, that I can hire coaches, all of the things.
Yeah, something I thought of when you were saying that is that now it's like there's so much you don't know and you will have to figure out, but there's so many people who have figured it out before you that you don't need to always start a business and recreate the wheel from
Mm-hmm.
scratch and try to do it alone and try and figure it out yourself. Like you said, have mentors, have business coaches, have people, look to the people who have done it and follow the roadmap that exists and then tweak it and make it your own. I love the example of Uber and Lyft. Lyft just lets Uber go into new countries and figure out all the legal side and all the red tape. And then Lyft just comes in behind them and is like,
Yep,
hi, what's up? Thanks for doing the hard work for me.
totally.
And we can do that in our businesses as
Hmm.
well, even when you're creating something that doesn't exist. And that's something that I'm having to kind of maybe not relearn, but remind myself again, getting into tech and building an app. It's like, how have other successful people done this? What is the roadmap? Just the framework to work within, and then figure out how you have to do it and figure out how you have to sell it and you have to market it instead of trying to figure out how to even get it to market.
Yep, exactly.
I'm also really curious. We were chatting a little bit about you finding a kind of tech hub, and you've traveled to a few places around the world and over in Europe to find that tech hub. We talked about some of your kind of favorite places or places you're like, okay, maybe this isn't, the shininess wore off. But I would love to just hear more about what it has been like and the difference from spending the last couple years mostly stationed in Puerto Rico to going over to Europe and finding these tech hubs, and just the difference in energy and inspiration.
It's been really fun. I mean, I love Europe. Europe is definitely my happy place. So I am looking at next year potentially spending half my year in Europe and half in Puerto Rico. I'm still figuring that out, and it's a TBD. But being in these tech hubs like Lisbon, where I'm at right now, there's so much conversation and masterminding and innovation and sharing of the minds going on that I'm just realizing that this is, I want to be in a place like this at least half of the year and in all of these rooms, in all of these conversations. Things are moving incredibly fast, and they're going to start moving faster. The thing with technology is the faster it goes, the compound effect. And so, and then it's just people with like high vibe, like they're rolling up their sleeves and they're in it and they're doing something that they're passionate about and trying to, burr something incredible in the world and refine it. And so to be in that energy of other people doing what I'm trying to do, just the energy builds on itself.
I experienced kind of a similar thing. And Omaha is a tech hub. You would never think it, but it really is. And something that we're working on as kind of the community here is to get louder and like talk more about what we have here and what comes out of here. But just being around those people that are also doing it and taking these big risks, it probably took me 6 months to actually realize, like, oh, I'm also building an app. Like, I joke, I'm like, I was doing it for 6 months before I claimed it and like realized I was doing it. But it was being around other people who are always developing and talking about what they built and just having these organic conversations that do let you connect the dots and almost just accept that it's possible. I think so
Mhm.
much we're like, oh, that's a big thing. And then you see somebody do it and you're like, that person is just like me. Like we're doing the same thing. And if they can do it successfully, like I can too. Before we wrap up here, I really want to hear an update on how the Financial Titans nonprofit is going. I kind of got to hear a little bit about it a couple years ago when we were in the same place, but I'd love to hear an update of how that's going, how you get to still stay involved as you're traveling or as you're working on Cashflowy.
Yeah, so Financial Titans is my nonprofit. I'm a financial literacy advocate, and Financial Titans serves at-risk youth ages 15 to 19. We have an after-school program, and we have a summer camp that is an experienced based learning program that gives students deep financial skills, a taste of entrepreneurship. We help them start their first business, make their first $1,000, in some cases more. And then we incorporate tactile ways for them to take care of their mental and emotional well-being. Because what we found is a lot of these at-risk youth struggle with mental and emotional well-being, and we can teach them all of the deep financial skills and help them start businesses, but if they're not able to take care of their mental health, it is going to severely impact their long-term success. And what we found is that it's it's like the superpower. If they are financially literate, they know how to make money. They're actually making money right now, and they know how to spend it and save it and protect it and manage it. And they know how to care for their mental health. They can go out and create their dream life. They can become happy, productive members of society doing whatever it is that they love. We teach them that money is the most abundant resource on the planet. There's always more of it. It's not a zero sum game. It's not like if you and I make more, other people lose. In fact, the more we make, probably other people make more. It actually serves other people. And so it's, in our best interest to make as much money as we can make doing good, valuable work in the world. And so that is what Financial Titans does. And our next cohorts, our winter program, is starting up in a couple months here. So I head back to Puerto Rico in December, get all of that queued up. And then early February, we start the winter program, and our program's currently in Spanish. I don't teach the program. I'm essentially like the president of the board, and then I'm essentially the executive director. So we are revamping our curriculum right now based on a lot of learnings that we had through the summer camp. For this, we're doubling down on the career counseling because we've been finding with our students that is just a need and a desire. So we're incorporating more of that in the winter program and helping them actually get into, when they graduate, they can get into like tech programs, trade school programs, all different kinds of programs. And we're like partnering with different programs for them. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love the work that we do. We eventually will have an online version available in both English and Spanish so that students worldwide can participate in our online version. But currently we work in like low income areas with at-risk students in Puerto Rico.
I'm really curious about you said desire for more career coaching. What does that, or career counseling, what does that look like on the ground?
Yeah, so what that looks like is we have the students tell us, like, who do you want to hear from? What careers are you interested in? And they make their list, and then we do our best to find all of those people. So for example, our summer camp, we had trades workers come in, somebody owned a construction company, we had a chef, a barber, a tattoo artist, somebody that does marketing, brand, agency, like those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. But anyway, we had all these different people come in, and they would sit with the students. We did small groups. So the students were in a very small group. And this was all the students like that chose that they wanted to hear from that, type of a provider. And they would be able to just ask them questions. And we just got amazing feedback from that. And so we're going to expand that in our winter program. We're actually going to double down on that, do more of that. And we're connecting then students with like how they can get into, say, a barber program, a culinary program, a trade school program, et cetera, and helping them get financial aid and grants and just all kinds of things to bridge that gap for them.
It's amazing. I love that you are taking a piece of what you can do and creating it for your community, and then also making it, in the future widely available. A few weeks ago, I had the chance to go talk to my high school's marketing classes, and it just made me want to do more of that because high schoolers are so kind of funny, but the questions they ask are just things that adults wouldn't ask necessarily. And I heard this saying a while ago that if you've never seen an apple, you can't ask for an apple. And so there's so many opportunities that these high schoolers, these kids just don't know exist because no one's ever talked about them. And bringing in the people to the schools and to the program so that they can see, like, yeah, this is what this industry is like. And like medical, right? It's always like, okay, you got to be a doctor or a nurse or a researcher. But there's so many other careers within that field or that industry that never really get talked about until you're out of college, and then you're like, I just spent all this money, and now what do I do? So it's really amazing that you are providing that opportunity for these kids to really see these other possibilities. Well, I'm going to wrap up with some fun questions because, Heidi, I want to know what you're currently obsessed with. And specifically, I really want to start with what you're obsessed with when it comes to self-care, what you do for yourself, how you stay healthy and balanced and good while you're being so ambitious and chasing these huge dreams.
I am currently totally obsessed with Pilates. It's been a challenge traveling. I will say that I spent 6 weeks in Bordeaux at a great Pilates studio there. Since I left Bordeaux, I have not been able to get to Pilates. So I am very excited when I get back to Puerto Rico. I've got a Pilates studio literally in my complex that I live in, which makes it easy. But yeah, I am obsessed with reformer Pilates right now. It clears my head. It feels good in my body. I think everybody should do Pilates.
You have got to see and live in a lot of places, and I'm curious, what are some of your favorite places that you have ever been? I know it's a thinker. When people ask me this, I'm always like, how am I supposed to answer that?
Oh, there's so many places that I've loved for very different reasons. I spent, I think, 5 or 5.5 weeks traveling through India. There's several places there that I loved. I love Bali. Bangkok is cool. I recently was in Istanbul. I will definitely go back there. Such a vibey, fun city, great food. Let's see. Sydney, Australia is a good one. I mean, it's obviously, a totally different vibe. I do love to travel and I like different vibes and different cultures and different food scenes and all of that. But those are a few to note.
And this is kind of a general one, but I'm curious when it comes to entertainment. And I know you're in a season where it's like head down and doing the work, but what do you do for that entertainment side, whether it's reading, listening, watching, going to things?
So I do love to read. With that said, when I'm in big work pushes, like I am right now, my brain at the end of the day is kind of like done. And so I'm just like Netflixing, it's like Netflix, Hulu, and it's usually something that will not turn my brain on. It'll actually just help me like it just turns it off. This is something, like Emily in Paris, or just something that, you're just really not doing any thinking. You're just kind of being entertained and then you fall asleep. So that is, been part of my self-care recently.
I am with you there. I recently just rewatched Ted Lasso because I need something. Not only will it not activate, yes, I'm like, I need it to not only not make me think, I need it to make me not feel anxious or negative emotions. And Ted is perfect for that.
Perfect for that. Yes. So that is the kind of thing I'll go to. Yeah, exactly.
This was such a breath of fresh air this week, especially Heidi, having you on. And since I started this podcast, I've always felt like you would be kind of that perfect guest, and you did not disappoint. Hearing more about your journey and your story and a lot of things that I'm like, okay, that's kind of where I'm at, or things that I'm experiencing or problems I'm trying to solve, has been really nice to just see your journey through that. And also how you are like, you make things feel so effortless, and I aspire to that as well. So I really appreciate you coming on. And Heidi, if people want to work with you, learn more about the nonprofit, connect with you just in general, where is the best place to do that?
Yeah, just go to my website, HeidiDeCoux.com. I'm assuming you'll type it in the show notes so they have the spelling. So yeah, HeidiDeCoux.com. That will send you anywhere that you want to go. It's just kind of the overview of my life.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on Becoming Obsessed. And if you're listening, thanks for hanging out with us today. If this helped you or entertained you, send it to a friend, post it on your story, tag me. We'd love to hear from you. It helps get the podcast out. Now let's go get obsessed.